The Sisters Grimm podcast is intended for mature audiences only. Please listen at your own discretion. Tiptoe through the window.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
The most notorious serial killer in the nation, the Night Stalker.
The Boston Strangler.
The Son of Sam. The infamous Zodiac Killer.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Get away from her, you bitch!
Welcome to the Sisters Grimm podcast.
How'd you do this? I'll show you.
And welcome to the Sisters Grimm podcast. We are actually here a week later, and we're vaccinated.
One half. We
are
got
half
the first part.
Pfizer vaccinated.
First vaccination. It was fun because we're sisters. They let us be in the same room.
Yeah, that was cute. And neither of us have any sort of side effects. We both feel great. Neither of us bled. They didn't even give us Band-Aids.
Which is honestly the part that would have given me a problem. I have a small bruise.
Yeah, Holly has a bruise, that's all.
I have bruised skin. Get vaccinated when you can.
Absolutely. I know for some areas it's hard.
Really hard.
Here's a tip for people who live in maybe like a heavily populated city. If you cannot find vaccines in your area, look up like the reddest part of your state.
Shut up.
Is
that
true,
what you did?
Yeah.
Peoria's red. That's where Peoria. Shout out to Peoria, Illinois.
Well, or just look at, just look up your entire state, and you might have to drive a little bit because we did. But
I see what you mean because those people are not getting vaccinated.
Like in Chicago, it is impossible to find an appointment
because everyone's getting vaccinated.
Because everyone wants to get vaccinated, and because there's a lot of people. So maybe also just go to like less populated areas. So
what we're saying is go to Peoria.
What we're saying, yeah, they were great there.
It was honestly lovely.
Shout out. Okay, so this week I thought it would be a fun little switch up and something that we've probably like lightly talked about, but
dipped
never
our toe. Never fully cannonballed it.
Exactly. And we are going to talk about how we both got into true crime and horror and kind of why we decided to even start a podcast.
Right.
Because we're now going, 4 years strong?
Oh, shit. I always forget when the anniversary, 2017.
I know it's 2017, and it was April.
Oh my!
It might be.
It's May. I know that it's May.
It's gonna be May. I just know that it's right May. After I went through a breakup that happened in April. So yeah, May's probably.
Yeah, no, it's May. It's definitely May.
It's May. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be discussing today. And I thought we could maybe take it into like parts. So start with horror, and then go into true crime, and then talk about just in general why we wanted to do this.
Right. And for people who maybe don't like when we go away from it. Well, first of all, it's our podcast and we can do the format however we want.
Yeah.
But I have, just in case we start going off on too far of tangents, I have 3 true crime facts, just in case.
We'll throw those in when they seem necessary.
When they seem necessary. They're fun.
Okay, so let's start with horror. You're older than me, so maybe you're a big reason why I got into horror.
Right.
So we'll start with you.
Where the impetus of that comes from. Well, I remember I was just scared of almost every movie. Like earlier, Morgan and I were watching the movie Legend. And when I was little, that movie scared the shit out of me because I thought hell was real. And so I literally thought it was like a documentary.
Right.
And I was like, fuck this.
Well, yeah, I would say my first favorite, if you want to call them horror movies, or I guess a lot of mine were, more sci-fi. But I guess witch movies from when we were younger, Hocus Pocus, obviously, Halloween Town.
Yeah,
those are not horror movies, but they're
movies.
Kid horror movies.
But
Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, I talked last episode about my experience at the Blockbuster.
Oh yeah,
with
I was gonna say video stores are honestly probably what made me want to watch horror movies because
looking at those
specifically. We would go to this really, really small video store it was just called the video store. It wasn't
the video
a
store.
franchise.
And it had a children's place in the back with a throne and a little play place. Do you remember that?
Well, yeah. So I thought always weird.
Did you
that,
get fingered back there?
What?
I don't know. It had an
What?
adult section. I remember that. It was
Okay,
by
don't
the
remember
Westerns.
that. So what I was gonna say is that to walk the like line to walk to the children's section was the horror section.
Oh yeah, the horror
so
section.
you passed the horror
children
section
were
to
on
get
the
there.
Same wall.
So I just remember like grabbing DVDs. I remember specifically grabbing like Evil Dead and
Because the box art
Scream and
was
some other ones, and yeah, just like being so scared to turn it over and look at the pictures in the back, and I'd look and be like, ah.
I remember. Well, I
And
remember.
Dad would be like, "Why are you looking at Jack Frost?"
Right. Oh, that movie is so bad.
Gross.
What's the difference between snowmen and snow girls?
I don't know, but I spilled water on myself.
Snowballs.
I don't get it.
Like balls, because whatever. It's a joke from the movie. Anywho,
yeah, not really
so
saying
yeah.
that.
But then I remember I was probably like 11, 12 when the Halloween 2 was on TV, and I think I talked about this in our and I've talked about this in some episode, but it was on TV, and that was when I started getting into it. And then from there I watched like the Scream movies, and I was really into like urban legend.
Yeah, well, so
It
definitely
wasn't
the
until I was a
Scream
little older
movies.
that I started watching like old good ones.
Well, so Scream was the first like real adult horror movie that I was allowed to watch, because I remember you rented it with your friends, and I told Dad that I was going to watch it too, and he was like, okay, but then you and all of your friends chickened out, and I was like, I still want to watch it. So Dad was like,
The beginning
okay.
is so scary.
Yeah, we basically got to the scene with Drew Barrymore hanging from the tree, and I was like, I can't do it anymore, and he was like, that's fine.
That's the
So I
problem.
didn't finish it for many years.
That's the problem with American movies. They go so hard in the beginning.
Oh, that's what I love, though.
You
I
like-
love an opening scene.
You like a big opening scene
Oh,
like
yeah.
that? See, I like a slow burn.
What would you consider like a slow burn horror movie?
Hereditary.
True. Yeah, I guess the like big thing doesn't happen
Midsummer.
for a little bit.
Midsummer is definitely a slow burn.
I mean, it happens pretty soon, but I get what you mean. Whereas it's not like right
the
off
big,
the bat,
well,
yeah.
I mean, like horror movies, like slashers, for example.
usually
the
open
gore,
with a scene that's kind of
it
horrifying.
has like a cold opening almost.
Literally, yeah.
And it's usually like a crazy death. And then throughout the
Yeah.
movies, like in some movies, all of the deaths are really gross. But things in, I feel like, slow burn horror movies and in foreign movies, they kind of build up to it a little more, which I've really grown to appreciate. So that's kind of my origin story vis-a-vis horror movies.
And we've definitely talked about this, about like, because I want to say like, I mean, I love Scream and I love Wes Craven, but Halloween is my ultimate of all time favorite horror movie franchise, and I believe it was the fourth one that you showed me first.
Probably.
I think it was the fourth and then the fifth. We watched them back
because
to back.
they came on TV so much around that time.
And that was when my obsession kind of like really blossomed, because then I was kind of at the age where I was like, okay, I can start looking for these things, and I started like always
I was
going to
gonna
like, the Sci-Fi Channel because there was usually a horror movie on.
I was gonna say, like, when did you kind of get your own taste for it? Because you were watching ones that I was watching. What movies would you think?
I would say just like with all of my friends, because all of my friends really liked horror movies growing up, like not just me. So we would go. I mean, I just loved going to the video store and picking a horror movie, because that was it was either that or finding it on TV. Because I mean, Mom and Dad would never really like buy them for us,
right?
Not really. And I didn't really start buying DVDs for myself, like actually purchasing them to own, until I was like in high school. So I would say, yeah, me and my friends would rent them, and especially I remember like the Saw movies I like loved, just because I mean those were what I grew up with.
Right. I mean,
obviously,
you
like
were
after
younger
the
when
third
those came
one,
out.
they kind of fell off, and I didn't like them quite as much. But I think I'm trying to think of which one I was able to see in theaters first. It probably would have been the fourth movie.
I was gonna ask you, do you remember what the first horror movie that you ever saw in theaters was?
Well, it would probably have been a PG-13 one, like Red Eye, or I mean, technically Jurassic Park 3.
Okay, I I wouldn't put that in a horror category, but
that was probably
the
the scariest movie I ever saw in theaters.
Me too.
But then I would probably say, I don't know why, but like the first one that really like sticks out was Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you took me to see that, or I snuck in because I wasn't 18 yet when it came out. I was, I think, 16. So I either like bought tickets for like Shrek 2,
Right.
and then just went in, or you. But you used to take me to see a lot of scary movies because you turned 18, obviously way before I did. So I remember going to see like the Final Destination movies.
I mean, I used to sneak into movies.
Yeah,
like
Roxy
I said,
Cinemas. Fuck you.
You buy a ticket for Shrek, whatever, and
Right.
then you go see Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, and I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre too.
The first one I remember seeing in theaters was a PG-13, but it was The Ring. And
that was one of the first ones that I tried watching alone. I remember on like a day home from school, and I couldn't get past the like her in the closet, mouth open wide scene.
No, I still am not recovering
It's still
from
my
Amber
least
Tamblyn.
favorite.
And it looks so
I
stupid
kind of
now.
Would totally love to rewatch The Ring.
The
It
fluorescent
gets a little boring, but like the
lighting.
beginning is so good. Like that opening scene.
It's so.
I'd also love to
fucking
watch Scary
scary.
Movie 3.
It's so scary. I mean, at least when I was probably 15 years old. So, I mean, a lot of other horror movie aficionados probably started watching them when they were much younger. But we grew up in a pretty,
Yeah, well, I just started earlier than you because you
that's when
put me
I
onto
started
them.
getting interested in.
Yeah.
So now let's switch gears
Okay.
to the other thing we talk about. What got you into true crime?
Definitely 100% the true Hollywood stories that would come on.
Oh, yeah.
Because I would say I got into true crime later in life.
Okay.
Like, I definitely liked horror movies way earlier.
Right.
Because I didn't even really, like, know that true crime was, like, a thing. I remember, like, hearing scary stories and, like, always being super interested in them.
There wasn't really a word for it. It was just, like...
It wasn't as commonly...
Being into murderers?
Yeah, it wasn't as commonly... I think it's also a huge thing of our generation because, like, our parents don't really get it. I'm sure a lot of boomers do.
Right.
But I feel like those kind of shows started happening a lot more in like the 2000s.
Yeah, I think more like Gen
and the
Xers
10s.
and millennials.
Yeah. But definitely, yeah, the true Hollywood stories about, because they would do ones about murderers. So I remember specifically, like, because I was quite the latchkey kid, and when you went to college, I would go home and be alone for like 3 or 4 hours. And I remember one day that I was watching that, and they were talking about Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy, and that was like the first time I really heard about them. And I remember being so scared that I sat out on our front porch with our old dog Ginger and just waited for like somebody to get home because I was like, I'm not being in that house alone because this house is scary by yourself. So I was like, I'm safer outside where my neighbors can see me. And so Ginger and I just sat on the front porch, and I just was like, all right. I think one of my friends ended up coming and hanging out with me, but definitely that. And then,
so like, how old would you say that was? So like when you were
high
in
school
age.
Yeah, probably like freshman
Yeah, it was
year.
like high school.
Yeah.
When it was when because we talked about it in psychology, and I'd always known about like serial killers and all of that.
Yeah.
Honestly, Morgan, you want to know my first experience with serial killers?
Sure.
And like learning what they are? There was an episode of Seinfeld where he said serial killer, and I had to be pretty young, and so I was like, Dad, what is a serial killer? Someone who like
Kills cereal?
And then he's like, no, it's like a person. And the dad like probably was like, so Jeffrey Dahmer liked to like kill. No,
John Wayne Gacy, who just lived a little far away, not very far away, he killed little boys and put them in the floor.
Yeah, he did. So that was like my first probably.
Yeah.
But
well, and we live in the Midwest where like a lot of obviously true crime happens everywhere, but I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy are two of like the most notorious, and they happened right around here. So, I mean, a lot of murder happens in the Midwest.
Yeah. People get very bored.
Yeah.
And so I remember, I think it was college, I wrote a paper about serial killers. That was fun.
Nice.
That was really fun.
I don't think I ever did anything
and
like
then
that. I wrote a paper
really
about
just,
weed.
I mean, I liked watching those like Forensic Files, Cold Case Files shows.
Oh yeah, and I got into like
America's Most Wanted.
How I Survived.
Oh yeah,
even
How
though
I
that's
Survived.
like about lesser known things, but that's what's kind of creepier to me. But then, like, because it wasn't a big thing until I would say maybe like 2015 is when like true crime podcasts started happening. Maybe before that.
Maybe a little before that. Well, because obviously we are influenced partially by My Favorite Murder. A little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's a good part My
But
Favorite
also-
Murder and also Last Podcast
Yeah,
on the Left.
100%.
Because
I would say more so Last Podcast on the Left.
Yeah, and then just for me personally, like talking about like the movie side of things, I feel a little inspiration from How Did This Get Made?
Oh, okay. See, like, I think when thinking about talking about movies, I think of, like, commentaries. Because I used to love watching the commentaries of horror movies, too,
Right.
when I was younger. And so I think of that more so than
that.
yeah.
Like,
Because we don't talk about bad... Sometimes we talk about bad ones.
When we talk about bad ones, I just like the way that they dissect movies,
Yeah.
and I like dissecting it the same way.
And we just both got into podcasts around the same time, too. And we were both like, well... And also, currently we are up in our parents' house in their attic where my dad literally has a studio because he was a radio DJ for most of his like 20s.
Well, I mean, he's been doing radio.
That's true, and he
since
still
he's
does
18.
it now. Yeah, so he's been doing it like
for the
his whole
majority of
life.
his
So we had all of the means to kind of start doing it. And that was really before people would get those like little mini podcast sets that like everyone has now, kind of.
Little podcast set.
Well, yeah, you can buy like a podcast like it's like a set for a podcast, and it's like a microphone, headphones,
Oh, that's
and it's like
really
travel
cute.
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
We've
before
never
that.
used that kind of stuff.
It was that was before our time. We're old. Do you remember the first podcast you ever listened to? Just kind of as a thought about podcasts in general.
I would honestly, I would guess. I mean, if it wasn't Last Podcast on the Left, then it was probably a podcast about someone I really like. Because I remember I used to listen, and I don't even remember what it's called now. I wish I did because I would shout it out. But there was this one podcast that I listened to where they just talked about movies, and I would only really listen to like the horror episodes because they would do like directors, kind of like we do sometimes. Yeah, I can't think of what they're called now, and I feel bad. It's like a bunch of dudes. I think it's like 4 or 5 guys. And I remember getting into that specifically when I was living in Oak Park, which was like right around the time that we started recording. Yeah. But so it was either probably something about like Wes Craven or something like that, or it was Last Podcast on the Left. And then I got really into Bachelor.
Well, no, you started.
For
I
a
think
while.
you started listening to You Made It Weird. Did you start listening to You Made It Weird first?
Maybe around
with
the same
Pete
time.
Holmes?
Oh no, I definitely Last Podcast on the Left
Before
first.
that one.
But I do love how you made it weird. Yeah. I haven't listened in a while, but I do like it.
I actually started listening. The first podcast I ever watched or heard was called Ask the Ninja or something, and it was weird and obscure and from 2005. And then also I listened to Doug Loves Movies, which started at the very I mean there were podcasts before I like stuff. But like think listening to a podcast right now. Imagine it's the year 2006 and all you have is an iPod. There's no iPhones. There's no iPads. The only way you could get a podcast onto another object that wasn't your computer was to plug it into your computer. But so I'm getting a little off topic, so let me
That's
hit
all
you
right. Hit us with it. You haven't hit us with
the
any
cheat
yet, so is it from this card?
No,
Holly has this deck of games, and it's called like the serial killer game.
the game makes no fucking sense.
It makes no sense.
No sense. But this Jeffrey Dahmer card makes a great bookmark.
Yeah, love that.
So, I don't know if anyone's heard about this or if you've heard about this, but there is a zone. It's called the Murder Zone in Yosemite. Or no, I'm sorry, Yellowstone National Park. There's a 50-mile stretch where you could get away with murder there because there was this.
Still?
I don't know the exact, I don't know exactly what's going on there right now. But there was a law professor, and he was researching jurisdictions, and he found this loophole that because of the national park is owned by the government, obviously, but if someone were to commit a crime, if someone committed a crime, it would fall under the the federal jurisdiction. So, the stretch of land crosses Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana.
Interesting.
And if there was a hypothetical murder, it would technically take place in Ohio, but Wyoming would be responsible for charging and trying them.
Huh.
So, this area is also 100% unpopulated. So, under the Sixth Amendment, we have the right to a trial by jury. And so, if you can't pick a jury, then you can't have a jury trial.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of
Can
cool.
I give just like a movie thing?
Go for it?
Because
our podcast.
I just have ones
Talk.
up in my noggin.
Talk.
So this is something I learned in film school, actually. So this doesn't pertain to only horror movies, but it is interesting, and I do think everyone will now notice this once I've brought it up. But you will notice that in all movies, all TV shows, all everything, they always do what is called a wet down, which is why the ground
hot.
is always wet. No matter what. If you're watching a movie, you'll notice the ground, it's wet. Because it looks more dynamic and lights hit it better and it just looks better.
I
and
love
not so
that.
flat. And so anytime you're watching a movie, the ground, it'll be wet.
Gotta love them.
You're going to start
wet
noticing it now.
Grounds.
It's called a wet down.
Wet down for a wet ground.
We love getting wet downs.
Should I read the other? What else were we going to talk about? Should I read my other little?
Yeah, give us
my little ones?
your stuff, and I'll give you some more movie stuff.
Cool. So, did you know that crime rates go up in warmer temperatures?
Oh yeah, I knew that.
And
It happens in Chicago, definitely.
Why would you think that would be the case?
Because it's nicer outside.
Well, some researchers believe that warmer weather.
No one wants to be outside when it's cold, so that's probably why.
Make it. Well, I know. Yeah, you would think because more people are out, but some researchers believe that people, when you get hot, it makes you less future focused, and so you're more likely to be impulsive.
Interesting.
And so you're more likely to robberies. They said maybe not a lot of homicides, but definitely the stealing and
Interesting.
shootings a lot, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I know there's a lot of stuff that happens on the 4th of July, so that tracks.
That does track.
Yeah.
Also, there are 6 states where necrophilia is not illegal.
Okay.
And out of those 6 states, in South Carolina, it is illegal for 2 consenting adults to engage in oral or anal sex, but it's legal to fuck a dead body. Isn't that fucking ridiculous?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty gross.
It's pretty gross.
Hate that.
Massachusetts calling out all of the states. New Mexico, South Carolina, North Dakota, Vermont,
and in
and
all of these
Virginia.
places, it's illegal for.
It's legal to fuck a dead body.
No, I know, but it's illegal for people of the same.
No.
Oh,
Just South Carolina. I'm just saying,
in South Carolina.
I was just juxtapositioning. It's you can't give a blowjob, but you can fuck a dead person there. And the last cool thing I found out was glitter being used as forensic evidence because just think about it. Whenever you work with glitter or you're with glitter,
it's everywhere.
It sticks to you.
Oh, hell yeah. And everyone around you.
Glitter is made up of, certain substances, and so it can last a very long time. And it also can get
'Cause a lot of the time it's plastics.
Contact, if the person responsible for the killing, it can get stuck on their hair or their skin. It's really easy to find if you just shine a light. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, yeah. I mean, because Lush Cosmetics, I know a lot of their glitter is made out of seaweed, so it wouldn't stay around as long.
Oh no, that's good.
So
for
if you're
the
trying to kill
environment,
somebody, and it's better for the environment. That's That's why they do
Speaking of the environment, and speaking of kind of horror things, has anybody else seen Seaspiracy and is never going to eat fish again
you
for the
haven't
rest
seen
of their
Seaspiracy
life?
on Netflix, watch it. It's eye-opening.
It is
Also,
so jarring, and Morgan hasn't even finished it yet.
we should.
There's some shit you don't even know yet. It gets
I'm
crazy.
ready for it. I wasn't ready to do it.
No,
last
it's
night.
it's a big thing.
Yeah, I'm done tonight.
It's a big overtaking.
As long as we don't feel like really tired from the vaccine or anything. But so far, so good. I feel
very
totally
cute.
normal.
I
I don't
feel
feel like better, but I
adorable.
feel normal.
I feel
adorable.
powerful, and I feel wanted, and I feel loved, and I no. I mean, I do feel those things.
I do too, and I feel all those things towards you. We had such a nice sister day, and I'm glad that we get to end it by recording our podcast
I know.
together.
Do
It's
you-
funny
have you
because we really do take colder and really hot time off because we do it, well, lately due to the pandemic. We've been doing it more here at our parents' house where we can meet up.
Yeah, we don't both live in the city anymore like we
Right.
used to in the early days.
Right. And so now we do it up here, but it gets really hot up here or it gets really cold down here up here depending on the temperature. So now that it's springtime, y'all should be ready for some episodes. I guess we would say that this is like seasons. Like we do seasons of podcasts.
But not
I
on
just think that's
purpose.
so pretentious to
Not
say.
it happens.
No,
but
it's not on purpose at all. Because we've gone for really long stretches, and then we've gone for like one episode every 8 months. Just kidding. I don't think it's ever been that long, but maybe.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know, but I mean,
It is crazy that we've been doing this for
we were really good during the pandemic. Or
4 or 5 years
I mean,
now.
the beginning of the pandemic of doing the podcast.
5 years.
No, it's been 4. We said this at the very beginning.
4 years. That's
4 years.
long.
It's a long time. It's a really long time.
It's a really long
And we're not
time.
even at 100 episodes. What the fuck is wrong with us, guys?
No, we're fine. We're doing it exactly the way that we are the most
Goal?
happy to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to.
And shout out
We
to
would have to
Studio,
do
who
that.
has always wanted to
Who has
sponsor
always
us.
been our sponsor. We
Yep.
love your headphones.
We do.
They don't suck at all.
No, I noticed you lost your pink ones.
No. I found them. They
Hell
were,
yeah.
They were in a purse I packed.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for you.
Found them the other day, and I was like, these need to be charged.
Yeah, I noticed because I saw your thing and I was like, oh, they're not in there. That sucks. Because I was going to say, everyone I know has
they
lost their
weren't
headphones.
in
Because
there?
Maria lost her AirPods, Mike lost his AirPods, and I thought you lost yours.
Oh, they're not in that little thing?
The ones in my... No, they're not in there.
Whoop. Don't know where those are.
Studio, sponsor us again and give us more headphones.
Yeah, can I get a refill on pink
Yeah, just the
wireless?
inners. We don't need the outbox.
No, I don't.
Anyways, this has been the Sisters Grimm podcast, and we will be back probably next week. You can say something.
Something.